morning, Facebook, we're live. Hello to YouTube over here. Hope you guys are all keeping well. It's a grey, dull, wet morning here in Drogheda. I've got my Jurgen Klopp LFC mug today. If you hear a bit of rustling behind me, I've been joined by a fellow expert of the furry kind who doesn't want to be seen, doesn't want to play, but if you start to hear funny noises, it's not me, it's the dog. So yeah, oh look, he's moving around. Well, you can't see him. Do you want to come up and say hello? Come here. No! So that's everyone on YouTube, and this is everyone on Facebook. So are we going on to some questions? Huh? What do you think? Yeah? All right, I'll let you down. We go back to your sleeping. So I hope everybody is keeping well. So we've got a few questions today. Some good ones in terms of, I think what people will find is that there are a lot of questions that a lot of people would be experiencing. So hopefully there'll be some benefit for a lot of people out there in terms of the answers that I'll be able to give. So look, we'll crack into it because like last week, today has to be a condensed one. Got to run to another meeting afterwards. So right, I'll jump right in. I'm a stay-at-home mum with 2 children of school-going age. They have homework and after-school activities nearly every day, and with these also comes a lot of contact from the school and people running activities. I'm sometimes overwhelmed with all the information and events, dates, etc. to remember. My partner is out working with an early start and sometimes not home until late evening. He's the sole financial contributor to the household, and my decision to stay at home was made jointly. He's very hands-on at the weekends, and I tend not to discuss the craziness of the week with him in the evenings, as it's usually a time for us both to switch off. I feel that if the Monday to Friday routine continues the way it is, I'll become run down and then possibly angry and resentful towards my children and husband. I need help to take the pressure off during the week, but not sure how this is possible. Any advice? So like I said, this is something that is going to resonate with a lot of parents out there. I think a lot of people will feel that this is the way things are. So I suppose when I was young, when a lot of other people were young, a lot of the time there was a stay-at-home mum, and a lot of time the dad went out and went to work. And I think for us growing up, we spent a lot of time doing activities that we went to ourselves. We walked ourselves to, there was not a huge amount of time commitment from the parents in terms of having to drive kids places and, you know, making sure they get there and wait for them and all that kind of stuff. Because there usually wasn't 2 cars in most of the households back in the 1800s when I was a kid. So for a lot of parents nowadays, there is an expectation that they will stay around, that they will have to commute and take their kids to everything that they want. And plus, there are so many more activities available for people to do. So our kids have never had it so good in one sense that the options available to them are fantastic. They're phenomenal. They're huge. But that brings its own pressures. And I think sometimes people feel that if they are a stay-at-home parent, that people think that they're not working. And that's just not actually true. It takes a lot to run a household, to keep things ticking over, to stay on top of things. And maybe there's an expectation when one parent is working at home and the other parent is working, is that the parent at home will take care of all the home stuff and remember all the things that need to be remembered for the house, and that the other parent then goes off to work. And it's not that they don't want to take part or participate, but they actually do. But it's difficult because you're working all day, you get home, and what you want to do, you want to sit down, you want to take it easy and switch off and recharge the batteries, because for a lot of people there could be long commutes to work, there could be a lot of difficulties in that respect. Maybe high pressure jobs and maybe financial worries. And then everything is left to the parent that's at home looking after the child to think about uniforms, lunches, what has to happen the next day, sports gear, instruments, all that kind of stuff is left on the parent who's at home, who actually doesn't really get a chance to switch off because they're not leaving a job. They're there all the time. So if you've got a sick child who's up during the night, if you've got a child who doesn't sleep that well, excuse me, you're having to deal with that. There's no switch off point. So I think the advice I would give to this parent is to actually sit down with your partner when things aren't bad. So a lot of the time what we'll do is we will not say anything because I'm coping with things okay, things are going all right, I'm going to be okay until you're not okay. And then it's boom. And you lose the head, you get frustrated, you get angry. So I think what you need to do is sit down while things are good. Sit down while things are, you've got the space to sit and have a chat. So maybe it's a case of you get a babysitter in and you guys go off for an hour or two, go grab dinner, go grab a cup of coffee, whatever it might be. But you get that space where you can both sit down and have a conversation. And the very first thing is write it all down before you go. Now, this might seem a bit prescriptive, but in reality, there's so much going on in your head. What you need to do is get it out, get it down on paper, make a list of all the things that you have to do and where the pressure is coming from. So where are the pressure points that you're feeling? And then together, come up with a list of possible solutions that might actually work for you or possible things to try. Make an agreement, try and see which one you think is most likely to work and then put it into practice. But the most important part in all this is that there is no weight put behind any of the possible things that you try. So what I mean is that sometimes with both parents, you'll have one saying, I'm upset, I'm frustrated, I'm annoyed, I want to try this solution. And the other parent is going, I don't think that's going to work. But when we have no expectation about whether or no weight behind the expectation, it takes the pressure off so that if it doesn't work, you don't have one parent going, see, I told you it wasn't going to work. So sit down when you've got the space, the time, the headspace, plan out what are the things that you need to talk about and try and come up with some solutions. It's not saying that it's definitely going to work, but at least you're trying something different. And by trying something different, you're going to start to feel that bit more supported. And sometimes you'll need to come up with some sort of solutions that are easily knitted into the fabric of your family so that things aren't going great for 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks and then boom, you hit a lull again because everybody slips back into the old routine. So it's important that the things or the ideas that you come up with are sustainable and that you can actually do them on a regular basis. So, and I think it's important for your partners to be able to say, okay, well, I can do this or I can't do this. So I think, giving both of you the space to be able to say, okay, I understand that we're both under pressure. We're both very busy. So how can we work together and make a plan? Because no one sits down and makes a plan about how they're going to parent. Everyone makes a plan about how they're going to organise the wedding, how they're going to buy their first house, how they're going to change jobs, how they're going to improve their study. But I have never come across anyone who sat down and went, right, this is how we're going to bring up the kids. Because we just get the baby and go, how do I keep this thing breathing? That's the most important thing right now. And it's one foot in front of the other every single week. Okay, so sit down together when you have the space. Make a plan of what you think might work for the issues that you have and then work on it and see how it goes. I hope that's of some benefit. Okay, next up we got my child has started to regularly use bad language and hand gestures. At first it was kind of funny, as it was the first time we had ever heard something so adult out of his mouth. We had the discussion about not using this language or hand gestures, and all seemed fine for a while, but it started again and with more regularity. He is also using it in the right context, and we feel he's seeing this regularly somewhere. Possible in school, but it's not something we do at home. Have you any advice on how we can stop this behaviour, as we are concerned that he's using it more often? So, kids swear. They might not swear in front of you, but they swear. Kids use hand gestures. They might not use it in front of you, but they use hand gestures. I think a lot of parents, the first time they hear the language or see the hand gestures, they do laugh. It's funny because you don't expect it from a child. And in some ways that kind of encourages the child a bit. So it's because everyone likes to get a laugh and get the attention, and it's good. It's what people do sitting around in a pub, sitting around in a cafe. They swear and, they get a laugh or recognition for it. The two things I'd say: consequences and consistency, right? The amount of parents I work with who have very few, or feel that they have very few consequences in place that will actually work for their kids. And that's the big problem, because there are so many books, there's so much information, there's so many people sitting in front of cameras giving you advice. But what you have to do is try and find what's going to work for your family. And I think sometimes we look at the consequences that other people have and go, oh, they're so much better than mine. I don't think I could ever implement those in my house, or I don't know where I'd even start. But you do have a lot of consequences in place. It might be that you just stop the arguments or discussions or problems before they even start, through distraction, through knowing your child and what they're going to actually progress onto as they're getting wound up. So I would definitely say, look at what are the consequences that you have in place right now. So what are the things that dissuade your kids from actually getting involved in negative behaviours? Then sit down and look at what are the other things that we don't use at the moment that might actually work. For a huge amount of kids out there, a device, time on a device, or bedtime, going to bed early, right? They're going to be things that actually work. They're things that are actually going to have an impact on your kids. They're very easily done. But the trick is to do a tiered approach. So sometimes if your child has a device, you could turn around and say, right, you've just sworn, that's it, you've lost the device for a week. And that's just not practical. And is it really relevant or relative to what actually they've done? So sometimes we can go over the top because we're so frustrated, we're stressed, we're under pressure, all that kind of thing. So if you come with a tiered approach, give the warning first. If you continue with this behaviour, this is what's going to happen. And then if they continue with it, then you put the consequence in place. But you lose your screen time for half an hour, 15 minutes, and then you continue it. So if they continue with the behaviour, or a tantrum ramps up or whatever, okay, that's another 15 minutes. If you carry on with this behaviour, I'm going to keep adding 15 minutes to it. So it's all in the child's control to stop it. And at some point they will go, oh my God, it's 3 p.m. and I'm going to bed in an hour and a half. I'm going to stop. You're trying something new, let it try. But the big thing is that you are consistent with it, and that anyone else involved in bringing up the child, whether it's a partner, whether it's your parents, whether it's a babysitter, whether it's aunts, uncles, whoever, they need to implement this as well, so they don't let the child away with it. And you need to let them know, this is something I'm really working on right now and I need your support and need your help with. But you need to be consistent. Don't let them away with it. Sometimes we have to go heavy and on the boundaries in order to stop them in their tracks. So give that a go. Work from the tiered approach and see how things go. Okay, Jurgen Klopp here again. I must pick up, actually, Dual to Your Online there. Well, you certainly were. I need to get one of your mugs for this. I'm going to call in and pick one mug this week off you. Okay, the last one for today. My 11-year-old daughter is refusing to shower and take care of her personal hygiene. She is sporty and as she is getting closer to being a hormonal teenager, her body odor is more apparent. We have arguments nearly every day about washing herself and and it gets draining. Any advice? So again, it's very, very tough because we have so many things to think about. We have so many things that we need to be focusing on. And something as simple as getting your child to wash shouldn't be a big deal. I'm going to assume that you've had the conversation with your daughter around, the the hygiene aspect of it, why it's important to wash, why it's important to clean, especially being a sporty person. So, with the assumption that you've done that, we need to go back to the answer to question 2: consequences and consistency. If she is putting up an argument, you put consequences in place. Now, it's not something we want to be doing, but you have to get to a point where you're going to stop your child from going too far and let them know this is the boundary. This is what you are not allowed to do, and you're not allowed to go past. And it's a crap job as a parent, but it is our job as a parent to actually put the consequences in place and be consistent with it. So there may be times where it might be late when she gets home from a sport, from a game, from training, whatever it might be. So it might be too late for her to have a shower. But the agreement is, if she's not having the shower at night, that she is 100% having it in the morning, and there's no argument. If there is an argument in the morning, there is a consequence in place. And what are the consequences that are going to work? She's 11. There's a chance she has access to devices. There's a chance that she goes to bed at not too early and not too late. So earlier bedtime, whatever it might be. She might argue with you, and you just extend the time. Don't work on days, work on minutes and hours. Because then all of a sudden, what can happen is, if we work on days, so that's it, you're losing your device for the next 3 days, and then it ramps up. Okay, you're now losing it for 4 days, and they ramp up 5 days, 6 days, and then all of a sudden, she's not getting a device for a week, for full 7 days. And 3 days in, she is doing your head in so much that you're kind of going, have you learned your lesson? Yes, I have. Okay, you can have the device until the next time it happens. And this cycle goes over. And what she's actually learned is, okay, if I pester mum and dad for 2 to 3 days, they'll give in and I'll get my thing back. So whatever consequence they're putting in place actually isn't the case. So put the consequences in place and be consistent. It is horrible. It's horrible to have to do it. We don't want to do it, but we need to. It's our job as parents. Right, guys. Shortest one yet. 17 minutes we're at. I want to thank you very much. We're going to have this up on our YouTube channel in the next week or two. You can replay it. It'll be great to get a like and share. Please do rate Help Me to Parent if you're enjoying these. Give us some feedback. It's really, really important. Email in or comment any questions that you have, and hopefully we will get to deal with them next week. And apologies for those questions that I didn't get done. There was 1 or 2 of you that I did say I would get to your questions, but I promise I will get to your question next week, if not before. All right, guys, have a wonderful week. Take care.